Most people aren't weak because they're lazy. They're weak because of something far quieter, far more dangerous, something they do every single day without ever noticing. They avoid discomfort. That's it. That's the whole thing. Every time something feels hard, or boring, or scary, or just slightly unpleasant, they flinch away from it. 1,000 tiny flinches a day, and each one feels harmless. Skip the workout, avoid the conversation, push the hard task to tomorrow, reach for the phone instead of the problem. None of it feels like a decision. It feels like nothing at all. But here's what nobody tells you. Strength isn't a thing you're born with. It's a thing you build, and you build it in the exact moments you're trying hardest to escape. Every time you dodge discomfort, you don't stay the same. You get a little weaker, a little softer, a little less able to handle the next hard thing. And the cruelest part? The world is now engineered on purpose to help you dodge, to make every uncomfortable moment optional. Bored? Swipe. Anxious? Numb it. Hungry for 10 minutes? Order something. We are the most comfortable humans who have ever lived, and quietly, almost invisibly, one of the weakest. A man who was born a slave 2,000 years ago understood this better than any productivity expert alive today. He had a crippled leg, no money, no freedom, no advantages of any kind, and he became one of the strongest human beings in recorded history, not despite his suffering, but through it. His name was Epictetus, and what he figured out about weakness and strength can change your life. So let's talk about why most people stay weak and the ancient way out. Let's define what we're actually talking about, because weak sounds like an insult, and it isn't. It's a diagnosis. When I say weak, I don't mean physically. I mean something deeper. The inability to make yourself do what you know you should do. The thing where you know exactly what would improve your life, and you don't do it anyway. You know you should save money, train, read, have the hard talk, start the thing, and you just don't. That gap between what you know and what you do, that gap is weakness, and almost everyone is living inside it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people's lives aren't being ruined by some huge catastrophe. They're being slowly drained by 100 small surrenders. The snooze button, the unsent message, the I'll start Monday. None of them matter on their own. All of them together become a life. And the strangest part is how invisible it is. Nobody decides to waste their potential. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today I'll become a little weaker." It happens in the small moments, under the radar, disguised as rest, as self-care, as just this once. So why does this happen to almost everyone? Why is the gap so universal? To answer that, we have to understand something about how humans are actually wired. And it's not what you think. Your brain has one ancient job that overrides almost everything else. Keep you alive and spend as little energy as possible doing it. For most of human history, that was genius. Calories were scarce. Danger was everywhere. The human who avoided unnecessary effort, who conserved energy, who didn't take dumb risks, that human survived. So your brain evolved a powerful instinct. Avoid discomfort, seek comfort, conserve energy. Pain means stop. Ease means good. That instinct kept your ancestors alive for 1,000,000 years. And today it's quietly wrecking you. Because here's the trap. In the modern world, almost everything that's actually good for you feels uncomfortable, and almost everything that's bad for you feels good. Training your body hurts. Junk food feels great. Saving money feels like loss. Spending feels like a reward. Deep work is exhausting. Scrolling is effortless. The hard conversation is terrifying. Avoiding it is a relief. So if you simply follow your instincts, if you let feels good be your guide, you will, with perfect reliability, walk straight toward weakness every single day and feel like you're doing fine while you do it. Your survival instinct, the very thing that built our species, is now perfectly designed to keep you soft. The caveman wiring that once protected you now sabotages you. You are running ancient software in a world it was never written for. And it gets worse because we built an entire economy on top of that flaw. Think about it. There is more money to be made keeping you comfortable than making you strong. An entire industry exists to remove every inconvenience from your life, to make sure you never have to wait, never have to struggle, never have to sit with a single uncomfortable feeling for more than a few seconds before something soothes it. They're not evil. They're just selling what your instincts are begging to buy. The result is a civilization of people who have never been tested, and a quiet, gnawing sense that they couldn't pass the test if it came. Now, 2,000 years before any of this, a man with nothing figured out the answer. And to understand it, you need to meet him. Picture a boy, a slave, in the Roman Empire, owned by another person, no rights, no money, no future of his own choosing, and at some point, the sources differ on how. His leg is ruined. He's lame for the rest of his life. By every measure we use today, this is a person life has crushed, powerless, disadvantaged, written off before he started. His name was Epictetus, and there's a story about him, possibly embellished over the centuries, so take it as legend rather than fact, that captures who he was. His master, the story goes, was twisting his leg as a punishment. Epictetus, calm, said, "If you keep doing that, you'll break it." The master kept going. The leg broke, and Epictetus, without anger, simply said, "There, I told you it would break." True or not, that story survived for a reason, because it captures the thing that made Epictetus extraordinary. He had found a kind of inner ground that no master could touch. They owned his body. They did not own him. Eventually, he gained his freedom. He started teaching, and people came from across the empire, wealthy, powerful, free-born Romans, to learn how to live from a former slave with a bad leg. Read that again. The powerful came to the powerless to learn how to be strong. What was he teaching them? One idea, above all. The single most important idea you may ever hear about why some people are unbreakable and most people aren't. Epictetus said that everything in life falls into two categories, and confusing the two is the source of nearly all human suffering and weakness. Category 1, things you control. Category 2, things you don't. That sounds simple, almost too simple, but sit with how short the first list really is. What do you actually control? Not your reputation that lives in other people's heads, not your wealth, markets, accidents, and other people can take it. Not your health entirely. Not whether people respect you, love you, or treat you fairly. Not the past, not the future, not even your own body completely. So what's left? What's actually in category 1? Your judgments, your choices, your effort, how you respond, what you do with this moment, right now. That's it. That's the whole list. A handful of things, but they happen to be the only things that ever actually mattered. Here's why this is the key to strength. Most people pour their entire emotional life into category 2, the stuff they can't control. They're anxious about what others think, furious about things that already happened, terrified of futures that may never come. They hand the steering wheel of their inner life to forces outside themselves and then wonder why they feel powerless. Of course they feel powerless. They gave their power away. The strong person does the opposite. They let go completely of what they can't control, and they pour everything into what they can. They can't control whether they get sick, but they can control whether they train. They can't control the economy, but they can control whether they save. They can't control whether someone respects them, but they can control whether they're worthy of respect. Feel the shift there. When you stop spending yourself on what you can't control, you suddenly have enormous energy for what you can. The anxiety drains out. The excuses disappear, because excuses all live in category 2, and what's left is a person who simply acts. That's what Epictetus gave those wealthy Romans, not comfort, the opposite. He gave them back the only power that was ever real. But there's a piece missing. Knowing the two categories isn't enough, because even when you know what you control, doing the hard thing still feels terrible. So the Stoics added something the modern world has almost entirely forgotten. Here's where it gets strange. Because the Stoics did something that sounds, to modern ears, almost insane. They sought out discomfort on purpose. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, an advisor to an emperor, a man who could have lived in total luxury every day of his life, would regularly set aside time to live as if he were poor. Plain food, rough clothes, the hard bed, and he wrote to a friend explaining why. The idea, roughly paraphrased, was this: practice poverty so that you never fear it. Spend a few days with the very thing you're afraid of, and you'll discover it's nowhere near as terrible as your imagination made it. Think about how backwards this is. Here's a man with everything, deliberately making his life harder. Why would anyone do that? Because he understood something we've forgotten. The thing you fear controls you, and the only way to stop fearing something is to walk toward it, in small, chosen doses, until it loses its grip. The Romans had a word practice for this. They called part of it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Don't just hope for the best, calmly rehearse the worst. Picture losing the money, the status, the comfort. Sit with it, not to be morbid, but because a fear you faced in your imagination has far less power over you in reality. This is the exact opposite of how most people live. Most people organize their entire existence around avoiding discomfort. The Stoics organized theirs around practicing it. One builds a person who is calm, capable, and free. The other builds a person who is anxious, fragile, and quietly terrified of their own life. And modern science weirdly backs the ancient view completely. Your muscles only grow when you stress them. Your bones get denser when you load them. Your immune system, your mind, your resilience, they all get stronger through controlled, repeated stress and weaker through its absence. There's even a name for it: hormesis. What doesn't kill you, in the right dose, really does make you stronger. Remove all stress from a system, and it doesn't thrive, it atrophies. A muscle that is never used doesn't stay the same, it wastes away. And so does a person. So here's the revelation underneath all of it. The thing most people never understand about their own weakness. Weakness and strength aren't states, they're directions. You are not a fixed amount of strong. Every single day, in dozens of small moments, you are either training yourself toward strength or toward weakness. There is no neutral. The snooze button isn't nothing. It's a rep for weakness. The cold shower you didn't have to take, the workout you did anyway, the urge you sat with instead of feeding, those are reps for strength. You are always practicing something. That's the part that should wake you up. Discipline isn't a gift some people have and others don't. It's an accumulation. It's the sum of thousands of small votes you've cast about who you are. The disciplined person isn't a different species. They just have a longer streak of voting the right way. And this is where it connects to everything, including your money, your relationships, your whole life. Because wealth, real wealth, is just discipline applied to money over time. The ability to not spend the thing you want to spend, to wait, to delay the reward. The same muscle that gets you out of bed gets you to keep what you earn. Weakness with discomfort is weakness with money. They're the same muscle. They were always the same muscle. The people who can sit with discomfort can do almost anything. They can save when others spend, train when others rest, stay calm when others panic, finish when others quit. Not because they feel like it, they don't, any more than you do, but because they've stopped letting how I feel make the decision. That's the secret the strong all share, and almost no one says out loud. They feel exactly what you feel. They just don't obey it. So how do you actually use this? Not as a nice idea, as a practice, starting today. First, start collecting small discomforts on purpose. This is the gym for your willpower, and it's the single most powerful habit you can build. Take the cold end of the shower. Take the stairs. Sit with boredom for 2 minutes without reaching for your phone. When you want to quit a task, do 5 more minutes. These feel trivial. They are not. Each one is a rep. You are teaching your nervous system over and over that discomfort is survivable and that you, not your impulses, are in charge. Second, when you feel the flinch, name it. That tiny pull away from the hard thing, the reach for the phone, the later, the I don't feel like it. Learn to notice it the instant it happens, because the moment you see it, it loses half its power. Most weakness operates in the dark. Drag it into the light. Say to yourself, that's the flinch, and then do the thing anyway. You just cast a vote for strength. Third, run Epictetus's filter on whatever's stressing you. Ask one question: is this in my control or not? If it's not, your reputation, the economy, what someone said, the past, practice setting it down. Genuinely, it's not yours to carry. If it is in your control, your effort, your choice, your response, then stop talking and go act on it. Almost every anxiety you have is you holding something from category 2 like it's category 1. Put it down. Fourth, rehearse the worst, like Seneca. Once in a while, calmly picture losing the thing you're most afraid to lose. Don't spiral. Examine. Most fears, looked at directly, are smaller than they are in the dark. The fear you face shrinks. The fear you avoid runs your life. None of this requires talent. None of it requires motivation. That's the whole point. You will never feel like doing the hard thing. The strong stopped waiting to feel like it a long time ago. Let's go back to the boy with the broken leg. Epictetus had every excuse a human being could possibly have. Enslaved, disabled, powerless. If anyone had the right to be bitter, to be weak, to blame the world, it was him. And he became one of the strongest people who ever lived, and taught emperors how to live, because he discovered one thing that the comfortable almost never discover, that the things that look like they're ruining you are often the very things building you. 18 centuries later, an American naval officer named James Stockdale was shot down over Vietnam and spent more than 7 years in a brutal prison camp, tortured, isolated, held in conditions designed to break a man completely. And he later said that what kept him whole, what kept him sane and unbroken through all of it, was the philosophy of a former Roman slave he'd studied years before. As his plane went down, he reportedly told himself he was leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus. The wisdom of a powerless man 2,000 years dead kept a tortured prisoner from breaking. That's the strange truth at the center of all this. Comfort feels like the reward, but comfort is where people quietly fall apart. And discomfort, chosen, faced, used, is where they're forged. Most people will stay weak, not because they can't change, but because changing feels bad in the moment, and they've trained their whole lives to flee whatever feels bad in the moment. They'll keep flinching, keep waiting to feel ready, keep mistaking comfort for a life. But you don't have to be most people. The way out isn't complicated, it's just hard, and hard is exactly the point. Every time you choose the uncomfortable right thing over the comfortable wrong thing, you get stronger. Not metaphorically, actually. You cast a vote for the person you're becoming. So here's the only question that matters, and you'll answer it a dozen times before this day is over, with the next small flinch you feel. Are you going to obey the discomfort or use it? One of those builds the life you actually want. The other is why most people stay weak. If this hits something true in you, then stay here, because that's exactly what this channel is for. Taking the oldest, hardest won wisdom in the world and turning it into the strength to actually live differently. Subscribe, and let's keep getting stronger together. There's a deeper layer to this, though, because the same instinct that keeps people weak is the one that keeps them broke, and the Stoics understood money better than almost anyone gives them credit for. That's the next one. I'll see you there.